We're going to do a posterior capsule stretch using the ISO Band 50. This is going to be a great drill for our athletes who have really tight hips or those who might have an anterior hip impingement. So what I'm going to have Brett do is step right into the band. He's going to pull it up so it gets right into the crease of his hip. He's going to use that bench to support the leg we're stretching. And I'm going to use the band to pull down and back to posteriorly distract that femur and drive an intense stretch into those hip rotators in the posterior capsule of the hip. Typically, athletes who might get pinching without the band, when you add the band in and pull posteriorly, creates more space in the anterior hip and will actually intensify the stretch in those hip rotators. We're going to do a hamstring stretch using the ISO band. So I'm going to have Brett loop the ISO band right around the arch of his foot. He's going to lay back, bring this leg up straight, and I want him to put this other leg bent out here. And we're just going to have him take some deep breaths. Think about flexing this quad straight, pulling these toes towards the shin, get a whole stretch through this posterior chain. If we want to intensify the stretch, we can simply have him straighten this other leg out and bring this hip into extension. That's going to put more tension into this top side leg. Again, I want him to try to keep it as straight as possible, toes towards the shins, and focus on taking deep breaths in the nose, out the mouth throughout the duration of the stretch. We're going to do an assisted hip hinge using the ISO band. Sometimes when new clients are learning how to hip hinge, they struggle to understand how to posteriorly shift their hips. So what we can do is use the ISO band to provide some assistance in helping them get their hips back. So I want to see Brett in good shoulder width position. I'm going to pull back, ask him to hinge his hips back, come up tall, press the hips against the band. Again, I want him to sit back, let that band pull him backwards so he gets some posterior shift. And then think about using his hips to extend and press into the band. This would be a useful drill for a brand new client before teaching them how to do something like a deadlift or a swing so they can learn how to posteriorly shift their weight. We're going to do a half kneeling quad stretch using the ISO strap. So I'm going to get Shelby in a half kneeling position. You see the band is going to be around the top of her foot. She's going to lift it up, and I want her to pull it right up over the top of the shoulder. So that's going to drive some flexion into that downside leg. She can control the tension by pulling that band up over the shoulder. We want to see that she's maintaining a nice tall position of her torso and keeping some tension in the anterior of her abdominals. That's going to intensify that stretch in her hip flexor as well as her quadricep. We're going to do a lateral torso stretch using the ISO band. So I'm going to have Shelby grab it just outside her hip. She's going to pull against the band to create some tension. I want her to lift that straight up over the head, thinking about trying to pull that band apart. Then I want her to lean away from me. Okay, she's going to bend sideways. She take a big breath in and out, get a nice stretch through the lat and her lateral line. Then she can inhale, come back this direction. Exhale, bend to the left. And then work our way back and forth. So we want to work on trying to get that rib cage to move while getting a nice lat stretch at the same time. The nice thing about this ISO band is she can create some tension by pulling against the elasticity to help drive some tension in the shoulders while she gets that stretch. We're going to do the partner band march using the ISO strap. This is going to be a drill to develop hip separation and linear acceleration mechanics. So what I'm going to do is put some tension into the band so Shelby can lean forward, get a good acceleration position. I want her to march, driving those knees up high, driving those hands through, trying to work on getting hip separation and forceful extension into the ground. We're going to do that one more time. So let's back right back up. Again, I want to see a nice forward acceleration lean. I'm going to put some tension in the band. She's going to drive those knees up hard, attack the ground, drive, drive, drive. Perfect. We're going to do a resisted broad jump using the ISO strap. This is going to help to develop hip extension power as well as help decelerate landing impact on the athlete's knees. So I'm going to put some tension in the band. Shelby's going to get in a good athletic position, explode forward, jump, stick the landing and hold. She's going to walk back and we're going to repeat. Again, this helps her develop hip extension, but it also helps shield the athlete's knee and decelerate them with a little bit of assistance on impact and on landing. We're going to do resisted vertical jumps using the ISO strap. This is going to be a good way to add external resistance to our normal jump squat variations. So Shelby's, as you can see, is standing in the band. She's going to pull it up in front of her, over her head, so it's sitting just at the top of her shoulders. I'm going to anchor it to the ground by stepping into the band so she can have some resistance here. So I'm going to step right on here, okay, anchor it down. Now she's going to get in a good athletic position, jump up, and we want her to think about sticking the landing. So jump, explode, land. Jump, explode, land. You can see how that band is rapidly pulling her down. So we're not only working on explosion, but we're working on rapid eccentric deceleration upon landing.